Both Replace 1 and Replace 2 focus on the issue of female genital mutilation, or as is now more commonly called, female genital cutting, and looking particularly at how we can end the practice in the European Union. The background to the project is that about 140 million women and girls worldwide are subject to female genital cutting, mainly in 28 countries in Africa, but also further afield in the Middle East and in Indonesia and in parts of Latin America. It's a practice which is a human rights abuse, but also has devastating health impacts on girls and women, both physical and mental impacts on them. And the World Health Organization called for the elimination of FGM 30 years ago, and still the numbers continue to increase. It's estimated that 500,000 women and girls in Europe have had FGM, and in the UK it is believed that 60,000 women and girls have been subjected to female genital cutting. This is despite the fact that female genital cutting is against the law and has been against the law for 20 years, with the most recent act being 2003. We have taken a unique approach to the issue here with Replace 1 and 2, in that we have used a participatory action approach to identifying the barriers to stopping the practice amongst practicing communities here in the European Union. And we have used community-based researchers to do that research, to try and understand the reasons why communities continue to subject their daughters to this practice here in the European Union, despite the fact, as I've said, that it is against the law and all the health implications that go with that. We have uncovered some very interesting results from that research, and we have found, for example, that men are much more influential than previously had been thought, and this has provided our partners with information so that they can start to target men as well as women in trying to end FGM. In the past, FGM had been assumed to be women's business. Women did it to women, but we're now discovering that men actually do have quite an important role to play. And what we have done with those results is try to find out how we can change behaviour now that we know what the barriers to change are from within the communities, and it does vary from community to community. The Replace project, Replace 1, came up with a framework to investigate the barriers to eliminating FGM, and also came up with a behavioural change framework to use with communities. We are now evaluating that methodology in Replace 2, and that methodology has been taken up by other projects in the Daphne programme, and we know it is being used in Germany, for example, in one of the projects there, in particular focusing on the role of men. Replace 2 is in its early stages. We still have 18 months to go, and what we intend to do in those 18 months is to evaluate the framework we developed in Replace 1 and implement it, both with the Sudanese and Somali communities and other communities, and then we will refine that framework. And the hope is that we will then be able to roll that out, produce training materials, produce a toolkit online, free for anybody who wants to access it and use it, so that we can roll it out to other communities in the European Union. This is a very sensitive topic, politically very difficult to deal with, but we're hoping that our approach, which is very community-based, is not top-down, it's community-based, it's coming from within the community, that will be an acceptable way for other countries outside the European Union to maybe use parts of our framework and approach to work towards ending FGM globally.